All right, welcome back. Episode 23 of the Young Old Heads podcast, where we try to bring a young, fresh perspective on an old hobby. I'm one of your hosts, Tommy, aka TV Sports Cards. I'm here with my good friend, my card soulmate Max, aka Cards Max, aka Cards Max Unlimited Worldwide Sapphire Edition, Logo Fractor Edition. Max, how you doing?
I'm doing good. You really had a lot of points for that intro. Logo fractors, cards wax,
Cards
a
Wax is
young
one of
a
my
young
favorites.
perspective for an old hobby. I like that as a subtitle. A little
I've started a few
brainstorming and
I've started
branding
a few
department.
episodes with that one. I just decided to bring it back this one.
Well, you have me blown away. And I'm doing good. It is a Monday episode, and when we have Monday episodes, that means both of us are very busy.
Yeah,
Cards wise, of course.
obviously, always cards business.
Yeah.
Business is cards, cards is business.
But we all know, like, oh, sure, you have your Monday, Friday work week, and then Saturday, you have off, and then Sunday you have off in a prototypical 9 to 5 setting. I wouldn't know. And then
Yeah.
on, Saturday, that's a card day, and then Sunday, that's a card day. Usually you don't have both of them be busy card days. But I know I was at my local shows Saturday and Sunday. I know you were at Las Vegas on Friday, Saturday.
Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday I was in LA at Kimball's F1 trade night.
So
Um,
that's a lot of cards. So
a
was the
lot of cards.
show going on Friday, Saturday?
Show was Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Okay,
which
Thursday wasn't just dealer setup.
no, Thursday was a full-fledged day. Vegas was a very interesting show though. I think it showed me a lot about where we're at. I think in the card world and the market, and also just like how shows I think need to be marketed. And I think the Vegas show was marketed as a national show. It was going to be dealers from all over coming there. It was going to be a big thing. I think they tried to do a lot of marketing, a lot of like graphics promoting who's the dealers are, who the sponsors are. I went with Ludex. We sponsored the trade night. The trade night was Friday night, and it was in this like rooftop room with a lot of tables and chairs. It was actually really dope. There was a great view, and there's like a bunch of food. We ran it with Game Day Sports Cards, which is like a big breaking operation out of Vegas. The trade night was really fun. All the dealers were there, and there was a lot of deals being made. I know I talked to Ryan's Cards for a little bit. I talked to my man Delco Rips, Alex, for a while. But the show itself was tough, I think, for dealers. There was very, very little foot traffic. The venue itself was really nice, but I think it was totally out on its own in like kind of like a convention center type way. And there was basically no foot traffic. And what that showed me is that I think in order to have a big national show, you really need to have that regional footing with people that just collect cards in the area. It seemed like no one in Vegas really was there as just like a collector. Very little foot traffic. Any deals that I heard of or saw made were basically between dealers.
So just so that I understand the perspective, when you say no foot traffic, how much larger was the foot traffic relative to the monthly Ludex show in Chicago?
I mean, the thing with the Ledex show is that it's probably like a fourth of the size in terms
Oh yeah,
of
no, I'm just trying to get a perspective of
yeah,
like using that as a baseline.
yeah, for sure. I think the Ledex show had more foot traffic than this Vegas show, even though
That's
the
not
Vegas
good.
show was 4 times the size with dealers. Yes, not
And what
good.
about compared to Midwest Monster or the B Cards show?
Yeah,
Or
and
is
the
that the same thing?
Ship Shawana,
Tijuana.
and yeah,
Okay.
and the Chicago one, yeah,
Foot traffic.
fractions of the foot traffic, dude. Like
That's interesting.
I was chilling talking to dealers for 10 plus minutes without anyone else even coming over to look at their case for a second.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and very little dudes running around with briefcases for like dudes just walking the show. I know I talked with Rohan Slab Mafia Sports, who we put out like a little clip with on our social.
Good clip.
He was walking around. Yeah, good clip. We talked a little bit about the differences between like a West Coast show and an East Coast show. This was really my first West Coast show, this Vegas show. And I could definitely tell the difference between like the products that were out in terms of what people were trying to sell. There's a lot more basketball, a lot more modern stuff than I'm used to in a Midwest East Coast show that has a little bit more vintage presence. So that was interesting to get his perspective and just talk about that difference. But seemed like the only way to make a killing at the show is if you were buying as someone walking around, just because of how slow it was. Dealers were a little bit desperate to liquidate some stuff.
That's a good, I guess, synopsis on everything that went down. Would you say I'm gonna say something? I'm gonna try not to sound like a broken record from last week, where I was very critical on the East Coast National as well as the ownership of the National. I know the National is owned by person who does my local show and the Hofstra shows, JP
I think the National
Promotions.
is changing hands from
It
what I
is. I'm
understand.
saying the new hands that are taking it.
Oh, the new
It's
hands. Okay.
it's half the people that run my local shows on Long Island and the Hofstra show and Rockland County East Coast National, and the other half is the promoter of the Philly show. And I know there's been speculation that we could be having a much larger West Coast show presence simply because more and more people are progressively getting into the hobby from the West Coast. Even when we're looking at geographic trends, the more East Coast heavy shows are more have a stronger vintage presence, while Dallas is more is the king show of modern. The Burbank show, which I think had 3 to 4 thousand people travel to it, is a West Coast show, and from my impression, was entirely modern. The Las Vegas show, which please correct me if I'm wrong, as I was not an attendee there, was you're
This is,
muted, Tommy.
I know. You're clicking a lot.
Like clicking, I
Your
will.
sound sounds like it's
I'm
clicking a
wearing a
lot.
very great quarter zip.
Yeah, so just be
It's
careful.
dinging.
I think your
It's
zipper is making more sound than your mic
yeah.
is.
Okay, zipper adjusted. I will be holding my mic so that I have pristine BGS 10 audio quality. But even with that, I think we're just having a larger and larger presence of people from the West Coast. The Las Vegas show in general, it's a dichotomy between trying to get people come from out of your region to visit your show, which is oftentimes where a lot of the money is also coming in to be transacted, as well as getting a strong local presence in an area. And with the Las Vegas show not happening too frequently, I imagine balancing both is difficult, but also necessary.
Yeah, so I know that it's the second time the show has happened. There is another Vegas card show that happens like at another time in the year. But I think with the LEDX show is a good comparison just because like it's a new show. We're trying to start something different. And our whole goal with the first few is not to have like this national presence of dealers coming from all over and promoting it a ton on social media. The whole strategy is to build this local following, get word of mouth in the local area really positive about the show and what we're doing so that when we do come out with like a bigger show with like 300 plus tables, 400 plus tables, more promotion on social media, that at the very least we know that we have this good local support, that so that dealers are getting some eyes on their stuff that they don't get at every other show. I think with this nationalization of card shows, you get so many of the same dealers traveling to the same shows that even though they're traveling, they're not really getting fresh eyes on their stuff. So
I 100% empathize with that on a local level.
yeah, you have I feel like you have a different perspective because like I don't really go to every single local Chicago show. I go to the big ones, and I know I need to there's like a non-sport show that I need to get to, and there's a couple other local ones that happen every month that I haven't really been out to yet, but at least on these kind of like regional shows, I've been seeing that a lot. So I think that's worth saying for that show. But just like showing how you can grow a show differently and like the strategies that you have to take, I think Vegas kind of swung and missed a little bit.
That's interesting because from my impressions, it seemed like Vegas was a show where it seemed like it was a show that had the garner of the attention that was worth traveling to. Obviously, don't spoil your secrets, but I'm sure in the Ludex headquarters, you're deciding, okay, how do I evaluate whether a show is worth traveling to, both from an enjoyment perspective and as a sponsor? And hopefully, I'm looking at myself here that I am now at the point where I'm evaluating, is a show worth traveling to? I was at Springfield, Massachusetts last week. I enjoyed it. I didn't kill it, but I made enough to pay for the table and take a little take home as well. Maybe it would have been a little bit better had I just been a walker rather than setting up at a table, but I made it worthwhile. But that was 5 hour train ride each way, which I don't mind. I can go through the grunt work of going on the train. It was a 5 hour train commute, which is, a commute oh no, I just said that. It was a $40 train ticket
5 hours.
each way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 5 hours, 5 hours.
That's
$40
tough.
Amtrak, $10 train ticket. It was really like $100 commute plus hotel. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I can swallow that. My expectations were a little bit too high on the show. It was a 380 400-ish table show, so not killer. But I know, okay, I have Chantilly in the area in the same type of range, except that's south. And I know if I plan in ahead, that's going to be about the same rates. And that's my evaluation of, is something worthwhile. I'm looking more at the East Coast shows like Philly and Springfield and the aforementioned Chantilly. And then, okay, well, Dallas is the mecca of modern sports cards and is the show to go to outside of the National for modern cards. Is the flight worth it? And then once we're getting into this farthest level of where I both need a flight and it's not Dallas or the National, is it worth it? And I think there is a strategy and a mechanism and a science to digesting if a show is likely worth it and then comparing it to your results.
Yeah, I think we talked a lot about like how we decide on shows and stuff, but I think
My decision is go to all of them that's within driving distance. My decision making is not the best.
When you're the grind king, you're the king of grinding. But I think just something to keep an eye on in the show world is just how some of them are trying to be these national shows, trying to be like Dallas, trying to mimic Dallas and stuff. But really, Dallas doesn't even really have that much promotion. Dallas's main marketing is word of mouth, and I think that that's the most effective way of growing a show, is not by just declaring yourself a 400 table national show. It's by starting smaller, growing that regional presence, gaining the trust of your local collectors, and then expanding from there when you see opportunities. I know with Vegas, my main takeaways are national shows. You need to understand their history a little better, I think, is really important. But also, a main takeaway is that the show is bad, but the trade night was awesome. And I think trade nights are kind of the feature of the hobby, honestly. Like, I think the feature of the hobby is not 4-day long shows. It's like once a month trade nights in big cities. I think Bleecker does it well, where they do these trade nights at their shop in the city. And honestly, it's just more democratic. It's a little more fun. It's a better environment. I think it's just easier to have fun at a trade night than a show, but also trade nights are where you make connections, where you meet people, where I have picked up some of my best stuff ever. So just take it for granted. And also, just like, if you want to go to a show, you don't have to go to the full show. You can just go to, pick a day, pick a trade night, something like that. But, and just my marketing head, trade nights are what I want Ludex to invest in a little bit. And I want to partner with some cool people to do some young old heads trade nights at some point in the future. So keep an eye on that.
That's for sure. I can say clear cut, I went to 2 of my local shows this weekend. Again, I don't want to just trash them, but it was the same dealers consistently. And for the first time, I went to a card show on Saturday. I did not buy a single card. I went to a card show on Sunday. I did not buy a single card. These are like 50-ish table shows, maybe a little bit larger. I know, but these are shows that have a consistent traffic and aren't in the middle of butt fuck nowhere. I can swear on this podcast. I forgot.
You can swear on this podcast.
I was looking for a better word choice, but I'll stick with butt fuck. Butt fuck nowhere, where there's no tables and it's all garbage. But I can say that for the first time in 6 weeks, Bleecker Trading is having a trade night, and I will be there at worst to socialize. And I hate the business and money connotation, but network, better yet, socialize with other people that like cards and that I've known, because some of us are just diehards and go to every single one of these. And I can say that I'll probably have more success there than at my local show at this point. Part of it is fatigue. One of the themes that I was thinking of heading into the show is that maybe it's personal, maybe it's overall enthusiasm for the market. We have PSA open at bulk, and for the first time consistently in a few months. I think we've had this since early September. And I'm just so pessimistic. I spend an hour a day, every day, religiously looking at eBay listings. I look at the few cards that I like. I'm like, oh, all of these are probably scuffed. I don't want to do this. Oh, it's baseball. We're entering playoffs. Not a good time to buy baseball. Oh, it's football. I don't know anything. And I know my quarterback can lose value in a week. Oh, it's basketball. I'm missing up on the high. So maybe part of it is negative, and that baseball's back and that everyone is submitting stuff again, and that I'm fatigued from my local shows, but I'm trying to find the light in the hobby right now.
I think you're feeling something that a lot of people are feeling. I think card show fatigue is definitely setting in. I know the Midwest Monster this week had very low foot traffic as well. I think that we have reached saturation on card shows. I think there needs to be some sort of cutting. I think there'll be natural, survival of the fittest to card shows. I'm not too worried about that, but I agree with you, man. I got some good hobby love. I had a good conversation this weekend when I was in LA on Saturday night at our boy
At
Sunsport
a
Trading
trade night
at a trade night. It was much more
with
of a hangout vibe
with
than it was a
King
trade night.
Kimball. Love Kimball.
Kimball, the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend. Check out his episode with us if you haven't heard that one yet. It's a great one.
We
But
will
I was
continue to
talking,
reference it.
and another one, and I'm actually prefacing a previous episode guest with another conversation I had with another episode guest. Ryan, Playboy Cards, was at Kimball's trade night, and I was talking to Ryan about the same exact thing this weekend, about kind of this fatigue he is feeling, and like how sometimes he's feeling super optimistic, sometimes he feels really pessimistic about where the market's at. I think he, like us, is like kind of on the same path of like he's figured out what his lane is in the hobby that he can make money in, and he's kind of sticking to it. And I think that's something that you kind of see, but also, grow slowly, gradually buying different stuff. Like I know he bought like some Pele vintage card at the PWCC auction last night. So, but I think the fatigue, I think the key, and this is me and his takeaway, is just like, don't forget about the people as like the main thing in the hobby. Keep making those connections, keep meeting people. And the more people you meet and like have genuine conversations with, the more deals you're going to make, and the more fun and the better you're going to, like, the more you're going to take away from the hobby, I think, is what we kind of ended our conversation with. Kind of it's hard to stay optimistic all the time, and you're never going to be optimistic all the time, but just giving yourself opportunities to feel optimistic by meeting people and hearing what they're doing.
That's a great, wholesome way of viewing it. I guess on a brighter note, I'm trying to look at shows that are good at foot traffic, at least in my Long Island, New York area. And I know the Jersey State Show, the Garden State Show, ran by Laz NYC, very good foot traffic, very good promoter. And that was one of, not only financially one of the best shows, but I was talking to more people. I was doing trades with walkers on the carpet floor, and I had fun, and that was a lot of fun. So good shows that are promoted, that do have people on the floor with briefcases, as much as a stigma that Zion case holders have, I do think it is an easy way. It allows you to be palatable and social when you know someone has cards in their case. Just getting rid of the approach anxiety. No, we're at a bar, we're at a card show, and everyone here has trading cards. You can go up to them and say, "Hey, what's in your briefcase?"
Yeah, I agree. As much as we do hate on the briefcases, I do agree they take away some of your anxiety. But Max, I'm tired of talking about these card shows. We're done talking about shows. We're done.
Want to segue into something else,
yes.
Or just touching on something that I mentioned in the accommodation of me thinking about fatigue and saying, "Okay, I really, really know baseball ultra modern, like let's say, which is what I like and enjoy the most." And okay, well, I can only buy so much Vlad Guerrero and Tatis. Yikes. Ronald Acuna Jr. cards.
That was tough.
Not Fernando Tatis. And I buy Fernando Tatis too. It gets tiring. There's only so many variants. There's only so many parallels, and you've seen half of them before. I'm trying, or at least may make the concentrated effort to tell myself to get into vintage, which is a massive rabbit hole. Part of it out of financial gain and just knowing that at some of my local shows, I'm immediately eliminating a third of the tables just because I have I mean, football and basketball, I can at least get a certain value range. You could give me a book in Portuguese and I'll understand it more than the vintage at some of these people's tables. So I'm starting by just very lackadaisically looking at cards and prices. Mantle's easiest to get into because maybe he has the most liquidity and modern presence of just, okay, this is a 1.5 PSA, but this is selling above this price and this one's selling below that price. And that involves net 54 forms reading. And I am going to try and stay diligent in my self-education of vintage cards. Part of it, I was saying the first, out of financial gain. Part of it out of just respect for collecting and the hobby. And this is our roots. They're not, as I've said before when I've been bullish on Pokemon, they're not making any more 1999 Charizard, and that was 20 years ago. They're not making any more 1800s Allen and Jinter or 1948 Leaf or 1949 Bowman. Once you know this stuff, it's more crystallized, and I'll have that knowledge ideally forever. So I feel like starting that foundation for an understanding of how value is maintained, as well as enjoyment and to keep myself with something fresh is something to do that I'm going to try and jump into the swimming pool with. You can check back in with me next week and how if I make it to the deep end or not.
I think every week we should just have a check in with you, Max, on how your vintage education's going. I know I don't really like learn. I don't really spend too much time looking into vintage stuff, except when it's like individual people and cards, like individual golfers or random non-sport people or whatever. But it's a world that I think everyone who collects cards inevitably gets sucked into at some point, just because of the history. And I think the more you learn about vintage cards, the more knowledgeable you are about modern cards too, just by knowing, what has sustained value over time. How can I adjust this perspective for modern buying? I'll just be poking you about that in episodes to come. But I want to hear about your PWCC auction time you had. Was there anything you saw last night that intrigued you? Anything that you almost bought? Anything that you did buy?
There were some interesting things that went for sale. I was out of the house, so I didn't land anything killer, but I was at the bar with my glass of water, with my non-alcoholic water on the rocks, looking at the auctions during extended bidding. No wins. Something that caught my eye that I brought and I tweeted a little bit about was that a Wander Franco clear acetate out of 10 BGS 9 sold for $3,700. I believe the preseason sales there were two preseason sales. I think it was one at 18,000 and the other at 15,000, or one at 15,000 and the other at 12,000. So that is a massive discount from what it was in preseason. And then I compared it to a Ansu Fati Superfractor Topps Chrome 1 of 1 from 2020 Topps Chrome that ended at 3,600. So pretty much the same, two very rare cards, two completely different cards from different sports that ended at give or take 1 or 2%. I got to go check my math there. Yeah, give or take.
That was your first Eric Whiteback tweet.
Well, it was fresh on my mind, and those were both cards that I put in early bids on like the previous Sunday, saying, "Oh wow, like this is interesting. Like I want to see where these end up at, and if they end stupid low, then I'll try and get it." But of course, neither of them ended low. For me, maybe I'm just biased out of not lack of soccer knowledge. The Fatigue for a second year card was very surprising. I think it's important not to underrate the international market, and although the Wander sale was very low compared to preseason, maybe 20% or so. I was a math minor dropout back in university. I know a PSA 10 Mookie Betts clear acetate out of 10 did, I believe, 12,000 a few weeks ago. And that just makes Wander feel so expensive relative to Mookie.
Yeah, I think Mookie's a good cop for Wander always. I
There's
saw the
not,
dude.
yeah,
The dude who
Trout has no acetate out of 10s. Mookie's the best comparison of an established star, and that Mookie was a PSA 10.
Yeah, that's clean. I saw that Mookie on Twitter or on Instagram. I think there's that one dude who has like almost the whole rainbow, I think, minus the platinum. So that was dope to see. I love the acetate out of 10. I think most people just don't even really know those exist. I don't really see them ever in like valued in like any. I never really see any acetates. But Max, did you buy any cards this week? I feel like usually we kind of say this for the end, but
or PWCC?
Just this week in general. I feel like we hated on cards a lot. Not cards, but like kind of where we're at in the market for a lot this episode. And I want to talk about what I did buy, because I actually bought a lot of cards in Vegas.
I bought 2 cards this week. I got 2 PSA orders back, and I have another PSA order in QA2.
You got a lot of PSA orders coming in now, probably with the new price change, right? You're gonna start doing more.
I am part of it is fatigue, and that I went very strong very quickly. And we've discussed my theory with declared values in general, that I generally try to push the envelope on the highest value card I can send in declared value.
Yeah.
I just to go in with your theme, Tommy, and say the brights. My 2 eBay cards that I bought this week was a Bones Highland Hollow Optic Auto. These are
Nice.
not numbered, but
I love Bones. Bones has the possibilities to be a big NBA star this year for the hobby.
I think it's very good to because like those breakout stars, like possibly Bones, their high end is still extremely expensive, but their low end is also like worthless. So trying to find the medium of also something that's rarish. I've been looking at optic autos in general for grading. I mean, and finding I think the Bones Highland Hollow auto, not to be confused with Erling Holland. It was $150. Sure, I'll take my shot. And I don't want to put myself in a corner too much, but I found a Mike Trout 1987 Topps Chrome red out of 5 that I bought from this week. Has a soft corner. I'll see it more once it's in hand, but that was cool. I'm targeting rare Trouts, especially with this Topps Chrome release, and I in general like buying rare wacky stuff. Continuing with the positive theme, I've loved these 2 cards that I got back from PSA this week. A PSA 10 Topps Pristine Ichiro Orange Auto out of 25.
21st year of Ichiro.
21st year Ichiro, as our favorite lawnmower would say, Saratoga Slabs, who's an avid listener of the podcast. And I got a Jalen Brunson Cracked Ice Auto, that PSA 10. I bought it a few months back at PSA 10. And that's going to be my fun Knicks card for the season until someone cashes me out. I hope he does well. I really hope he does well, and that he's finally the best point guard of the Knicks since, I don't know, Raymond Felton or earlier. But this is not a sports analysis podcast. Those cards have me excited.
I love your Mets, or your not your fuck me, your Mets collecting, your Knicks collecting. I love your Knicks collecting, Max, because you are. I think anyone our age who's a Knicks fan is just sad. They're just sad people. They have nothing but sadness in their life and have only ever seen sadness. But you found some ways of brightening your collection with some Knicks cards, Max. I don't know if we've ever even talked about your little project that you're doing that you posted about. Can you tell everyone what your project is with the Knicks?
I don't think we have discussed, and I have a new buy for it today. To shout out Watch the Breaks for buying it through me on ComC with his ComC credit, and I have to Venmo him after the show. But I am trying to do a full Knicks Silver Prism PSA 10 run. It was a project that I started at like 2020-ish, and we had a big card from the order that 10'd a 2012 Northwestern legend. Tommy, would you like to do the honors and educate the podcast?
Yes, I will educate the people. I just was hyped up for a second. Max, so Max bought a PSA 10, or no, you graded this yourself, right?
It was the one raw copy on eBay. And
amazing.
I included it in my July special national $18 sub.
So we all know 2012 Prism, iconic set, some would say. There is a Northwestern legend. Northwestern, historically terrible at basketball. Hard to collect basketball cards at Northwestern people, as I know very well. But Max picked up a silver John Cherna, Northwestern all-time leading scorer John Cherna, who somehow sneaked into this 2012 Prism set, which is sneaky, massive checklist on 2012 Prism.
Lots of rookies as well.
A lot of rookies, a lot of dudes who barely even saw the league are in that set, which is kind of funny. But yeah, you got a PSA 10 on the only raw copy on eBay, and you submitted it yourself. I'm hyped for that addition to your Knicks PSA 10 silver run. What are some of the other ones you got so far?
I believe that's a pop 3 for the
That's an investment. That's an investment.
That is an investment piece for someone who wants, like, if 2012 Prism might become the next 86 Flair, but if someone wants like a full PSA 10 Prism set, that'd be pretty wicked if they try to attempt that, and that would be a key card, because like even those bums, sorry Tommy, those bums, no one really is going to send them to grade except psychos who want full career runs. The constraints for the set is only that like they have to be in a Knicks jersey when they're playing. Or excuse me, when they are on the card. In the card.
It's only rookie cards you're doing, right?
Yeah, I have like
rookie Knicks PSA 10 silver.
Yeah, rookie Knicks PSA 10s. Like Jerian Grant counts. I already know Jerian Grant was always a Knick, and that was the one that I just got lately. But I have like an Ignas Presentikas card. I don't think he's ever played a game with the Knicks, but
no, he played some games, but he was not very long.
He was in G League. I don't know if he ever played games.
I think he got up, but like he had a Prism rookie, so that counts. Like if you have a PSA 10, if you have a rookie card in a Knicks uniform in Prism, you're gonna try to get the silver.
Can confirm he's played 13 total Knicks games, and that was it. He has played 42 games on the
I bet
Orlando
that I
Magic.
bet that's more games than John Cherna played for the Knicks, though, dude. I'll look that
But
up while you.
some of the highlights include a Cle Anthony early silver prism that I sent out in a 2020 PSA 10 bulk sub, and that is a pop one. And I right now I'm still holding out RJ Barrett and Kristaps Porzingis until they become cheaper. Think for better or worse, the Knicks rookies are getting better as the Knicks fall lower in the draft lottery each year. So that makes more people want to grade them and makes me not have to send them out to grade myself, as well as more people grading them. I knew there is Ignas Brazdeikis, which I bought off someone else on eBay maybe over a year ago. I'm like, okay, I don't need to send this in. This card's going to be worthless, and I'm going to be able to buy it off someone.
Yeah. Well, all
But
right. Can I blow your mind real quick? John Cherna,
yes, John Cherna.
he was waived at the end of the preseason with the Knicks. Never even played a game, even in the G League for the Knicks. Only was on the preseason like half roster. So that's how much it took to get in 2012 Prism. All you had to do was play some preseason games, get cut, and then you were on the lists. Just for future reference, 2012 Prism.
I'll keep that in
insane
mind
set,
during
insane
my
set.
NBA career.
Yeah, well, when you get your own Knicks PSA 10 Prism, I'll
But
be
the
inspired.
hardest ones to get will be Tim Hardaway Jr., who is surprisingly difficult to find. There are not many clean copies. I haven't been able to locate a PSA 10, and that he's from Giannis year. He's from 2013. So second year Prism, still tough to find.
Yeah,
And then Iman Shumpert, who is in that technically a rookie, even though he debuted in 2011, the sets from 2012. I think he's a staple for a lot of Knicks fans from that era, even though he amassed to very little. I feel like Iman Shumpert was like the glorified 3-and-D guy who just didn't have a great career. Someone who had a lot of okay potential and was a
who
diamond in the
was
rough.
not actually good at shooting 3-pointers.
But he got a ring with the Cavs, and that's cool. And everyone knows his big poofy hair from those 2011, 2012 Knicks.
Yeah, for me, it's Landry Fields and Iman Shumpert are the two goated Knicks players in my mind.
That's fair. That's a good way of doing it. An early career Carmelo or Knicks LaMelo would be cool.
Yeah, I know we've talked a little bit about your Carmelo Knicks.
Yes, but there's
year.
still some cracks to fill. Part of it due to cost, part of it due to these cards are of absolute nobodies and no one's going to grade them. And finding a raw one in clean condition is very hard. But that fact that the John Cherna PSA 10 and that my Cle Anthony early PSA 10, Pop 3 and Pop 1, I think I'm making a good run on the sets registry. If only someone doesn't crush me with a gold prism set of every player that I'm chasing. That's really the one way to one up me because golds are the ones parallel that have existed for just as long as silver.
If you ever see a gold prism John Cherna, I'm a buyer. I'm the buyer for that card. So someone let me know. But
I'll keep that in mind.
I
know there was
No, you're good.
No, I know that an Iman Shumpert Gold Prism 2012 sold. Yeah, an Iman Shumpert Gold Prism 2012 PSA 10 Pop 1 sold for $1,000.
Fuck.
Actually, no, just wait. I see total two. I'm gonna say 1,000. One copy sold for 1,000.
That's nuts. I am glad we finally informed the listeners on this project. I can't believe it took till episode 23, but I'm sure there's projects we haven't talked about that I just assume we've talked about.
It takes a very long time for me to make any step in this submission. Now that value subs are back, I can make steps. But the fact that we got two, the most recently, the Cherna, a big PSA 10 for this project. We're now at 8 cards sold. I have Damian Dotman. I have Alonzo Trier. I have, obviously, Kevin Knox. We're cooking. This is a cookout, and I'm having a nice hamburger.
And I'm going to also join you with a hamburger. But, Max, I think the thing that I respect the most about your collecting strategy and philosophy is how patient you are. You won't just buy things to buy things for your collection or whatever. You're very patient in making sure that you're getting good deals. I know whenever you pick up a Glaber card, it's for like way less than half comps or whatever, some nuts. But
I found a rare opportunity where it was a base Glaber PSA 10. It was a silver pack PSA 10, and it was for $20. And I passed on it. And I'm like, Ooh, I need this for like the Glaber set registry purposes that I haven't officially tried filling out. I probably would make a good chunk on that. Maybe that's a project.
Are you
But
well, I was a part of a nice little rack for you, Max, this week where we
you
sent
were,
from our
you
boy
were
Frank Lubati was selling a Glaber Torres Heritage black border, not numbered, right? Black border is not numbered
black
in
bordered,
Heritage.
not numbered, but print run of 50. I
Print run of
cooked a
50.
value box from this and
Yes. I know
from that knowledge.
these weird heritage parallels like these black borders. I know the silver slate Juan Soto that you got a while ago is kind of another one of these examples. The non-numbered heritage parallels are kind of biased sometimes, and Frank put what a Glaber's been cooking for the Yankees lately. So me and Saratoga Slabs, and I think Logan was in on it too. We all pitched in and got Max a nice little PC ad for the playoffs. I know we've been hating on cards, but there's good people in cards. We're doing fun stuff, and Max's Glaber PC got a little brighter this week. Max, what are you gonna do with that Glaber? Are you gonna grade it maybe?
Probably not grade it. First, I mean, now that $18 sub, I mean, what I used to do during like COVID era, this when it was $8 a card, I would just send out most of my Glabers to get slabbed. Even the ones that, especially like even like the non-rookie cards, I would hope for a 10, but I wouldn't necessarily need a 10 on that.
That's
Um,
like less than the cost of a meal, like $8, like whatever at that point.
yeah, I mean that was just great. At this point, I still am evaluating what to do with the Glaber slab collection. But I know it's
Hold.
too high tier and too high caliber of a card to throw in a binder. That's for sure.
Yeah, maybe a one touch, rare in your world.
Rare one touch moment.
But Max, I bought some cards this week in
Tell me your
Vegas,
cards.
and let me tell you. Our homie Jason Dardick, head grader at DCI, had a few cards raw reviewed by him, and that I bought in Vegas. Jason's a great guy, friend of both of us, who is doing some cool stuff with DCI, and I wanted to see what his opinion was. I'd never rarely grade cards at all, so these were more just like PC cards. I wanted to see what he thought their grade were, and I could shoot some content with him filming about why they got the certain grades. But I got this Logan Webb Bowman paper orange out of 25. The listeners know I'm all about orange parallels with the Giants. Any orange parallel I'll try to get my hands on, and I have a few other Logan Webb rookie parallels that I'm going to sell off to pay for this one. It was only like 25, $30, but I'm trying to be better about making sure I'm refunding myself or like, making selling cards that I don't want as much as these main PC cards to afford them. I got this Klay Thompson Red Hot 2013 Select, one of the best insert sets of all time. Red Hot 2013 Select. Check it out if you've never seen them. I got a Prism out of 25. It's a silver Prism out of 25, but it's jersey numbered 11 out of 25, which I thought was really awesome. I had this dealer from the Bay Area, Todd, was there. He had a bunch of raw Warriors that I just
The
was
biggest
salivating.
question is, did he know it was a jersey number when he sold it to you?
He did. It was on the thing, and it definitely sold at a premium. But an out of 45 or out of 50, I want to say green Prism sold for like basically 100. I got this for $80. I'm feeling good about that. I wasn't really going in trying to buy Clay cards, but jersey numbered out of 25, early Panini, one of my favorite insert sets. Seemed like a buy to me, and it's jersey numbered. I mean, I didn't even say what the grades they got. So this Logan Webb orange got a 9 from DCI. The Select got an 8 because of some damage some scratches on the back. And I bought this Tiger Woods promo rookie. I'm not exactly sure what this card is called, but Time People, I think, is the main name for it. But I think it's an Asian release promo card. It got a 7 because of some scratches, but it kind of it's probably the coolest looking Tiger card. There's an actual tiger in the background. It looks sick. I was hyped about that buy for $40. I got it from a Tiger collector who was set up, who he said he had a PSN 9 back home, didn't really care about this one anymore. I scooped it up for 40. I felt like that was a good deal. I bought this Kevin Durant 2008 Topps Gold out of
Second year?
2008. Yeah, second year Durant. So something that I've been playing around with is just like the Topps Gold. Everyone, like, I love those. Durant, I picked up his rookie gold out of 2007 earlier this summer. So getting the second year gold seemed like an easy move. And for less than $40 seemed like a buy. I'm going to pick up his 2009 Topps Gold and complete his very short Topps Gold run of career for Durant at some point.
Yeah, it reminds me of when we were talking about continuity and the importance of having longevity in your cards. But then at the converse, stuff with basketball is has Prism start in the middle of many players' careers and Topps end also in the middle of many players' careers.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of that kind of fucks modern basketball collectors a lot. I think we've talked about like the weirdness of Panini but I think that transition period, because that's going to always be my zone of like guys that I love and will want to collect forever. I've assumed like I'll always be toeing the line between Topps and Panini. With Durant, my strategy with Durant cards as a Warriors fan are Warriors uniforms and then Topps products. So either Sonics uniforms, early Thunder with the top stuff, or later career Warrior stuff. Durant's tough for me because he was such a big part of the Warriors runs, but his career is kind of just weird. But I do respect him a lot, and maybe we'll talk about that in another episode. Other pickups, though, real quick, I got this red 75th anniversary Prism of Dennis Schroeder. The reason I bought this, it's out of 75. It's because Steph is clearly in the background, just chilling out. One of the coolest parallels from Prism this year, the red 75th anniversary out of 75. So,
well,
getting one.
Is it Steph Curry jersey numbered?
No, it's not Steph Curry jersey numbered, but Steph Curry in the background. That card for Steph's probably like $100+. So getting this for like $3 was like just kind of fun to have. And I also shout out Refs in the back on Twitter, one of the goated collectors out there. Other ones I got this McCovey patch, 4-color patch, Willie McCovey game worn back in the day. This is gonna be a Christmas present for my dad, who's a big Willie McCovey fan. So I was hyped about that. And then I'll end my pickups with this from the week with I have two more. Draymond Green, who I'm waiting for the drop in price and all this stuff. So if you want to liquidate Draymond Green stuff from the fight, hit me up. But I got this championship moments out of 99. We've talked about this set a little bit. Championship moments, one of the coolest insert sets that Panini has done with basketball. All of them are serial numbered out of 99 and all picture the guy holding a trophy. We got Draymond. It's usually the whole team who won a title the year before. But the last pickup that I'll talk about this week was one that was inspired by you a little bit, Max. I picked up a Ronald Acuna Gold Cup Black out of 67. It's from Update, so it's not his like official base card from 2019, but it's the Update one, blowing the bubble while hitting a home run. One of the coolest images I think I've seen on a card, and I felt like Black Parallel for for less than $40 shipped. Seemed like an easy money buy for my Gold Cup PC. I'll have to sell off a couple other Acuna Gold Cups that I have to get it, but to pay for it. But easy money buy. You know we love Black Parallels here. Young Old Head podcast sponsored by Black Parallels, right, Max?
Sponsored by Black Parallels.
But that was my long-winded answer for what I bought this week. I felt really excited about this week, dude. Honestly, and selfishly as a collector, I am hyped for the downturn in the market. I love buying stuff for cheap, and I will continue to collect cards throughout this entire time, even if the market dies. So
I think it's interesting that your rationale to collecting is, oh, I just found this cool card and it was at a great value, so I bought it and I threw it in my binder. Well, mine is like not out of one saying one's better than the other, just out of comparison's sake. But mine's like, I need to get this really, really stupid, obscure card in a PSA 10 third-party label that probably won't exist.
Yeah, I think the key difference between me and you is that you love grades. You love getting your
don't love grades.
No, but you like having weird shit in PSA 10 labels, which I mad respect to you for doing, and I think is a cool way of collecting. But you care way more about that than I do. Like,
I think I told you, like, from the aforementioned, like 2020 bulk modern, not ultra modern sub at like $12 per. I had a Carmelo Anthony 2012, or maybe 2011, 2012. That's where the break point is. But his Carmelo Anthony's Knicks hoops card, and that, to my knowledge, is his first card in a Knicks uniform. And at the time I submitted it, it was Pop 0. Now it's Pop 2, with me being one of the two. And having that in the PSA 10, I think is very cool, even though it's like a $3 card raw.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I would never give a fuck about. Like, I don't care about, first cards really in jerseys and stuff.
Well,
and
I'm a Knicks fan.
No, I know.
It's like an oddity,
I don't know why you're so defensive about this. This is just how you are, bro. This is just who you are. You just love PSA 10s and you love weird shit, bro. You have all your minor league PSA 10s. You got your Carmelo first.
I think it's a way to assert,
hoops.
because cards at the end of the day are flexing to an extent, and that you want people to hear your collection is cool. And in a world where there's no parallels or very, very few parallels, the way to say that your card is better than another, or even your card is better than theoretical others, is by condition.
Is your card better than theoretical other cards? That's a good one.
I have the best cards on the planet.
I feel like that's like when people go like, what would theoretically a Joe Montana rookie National Treasures shield go for? And it's like, well, who the fuck knows, dude? That's
Yeah, it's
way
like,
too crazy of a question.
yeah, but we're into the stratosphere. We're worldwide. We're universe wide.
We're
Hopefully
universe wide.
nation.
And yeah, we have listeners across the world. We have had listeners in other countries, from what I can tell on our stats that we get about who listens to the podcast. But that's
We
kind of
love
fun.
everyone.
We love
We love it.
everybody, and thanks for listening this week, guys. I know it wasn't probably the most optimistic episode of all time, but it was. I think we try to save it here at the end with these card talks. You know, we will always end our conversations with whatever cards we're buying and trading with at the time. So,
what is on your plate for this upcoming week?
oh, dude, I'm a shell of a human being, bro. I have barely even checked in with what my brain is capable of this week, so we'll have to figure that out as it goes. How about you, dude?
I meant more like card show wise. No show.
Oh, no shows.
What do you like? Once a show, like once every 3 weeks, give or take?
Yeah, I think I'll be slowing down my travel for going to shows in the next few months for sure. I think there'll probably only be maybe 1 or 2 more trips the rest of the year.
Okay, great. Have your people tell my people.
I'll have my people call your people, and
I have a show, 300 tables on Long Island, not a long commute. I have some cards to pack at RCR and experiment with and dabble with, and that should be fun. I also have at least one item to give to JSA to get autograph authenticated. Alex Powell, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, was an IndyCar racer who was in potential to get this one of the seats for McLaren.
Mhm.
And he didn't get the seat, but he signed with them as like kind of, I think he has a reserve driver or some of their development program, something like that. But he has, at the time when it was like speculated that he might go to McLaren and then ergo might get the seat, I bought like 2 postcards of just his car and then his autograph on it. I think they were like $15 each, but they weren't authenticated. I got like a PSA quick approval check and for like $10, and they said the autos are likely legit. I may drop them off at JSA just to get it like official legit. I don't know what in the world they'd be comparing to since he is a IndyCar driver, but that should be fun.
That is really random, and I love it. So I'm excited to hear what happens on the show for you next week. And next week, another episode of Card Talks and discussing cards, providing a young/new perspective on an old hobby. We will see you guys next week. Make sure to follow at young_oldheads on Twitter and at Young Old Heads Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. So see you guys next week.
Aaron Judge.
Roger Maris Jr.